Welcome to the Dynamis. I'm Evan Swartztrauber. For over a decade, U.S. Senator for the state of Iowa, Joni Ernst, has been arguably the Senate's most persistent voice against government waste, issuing squeal awards that exposed bureaucratic excess when few were paying attention. What began as a somewhat thankless crusade has now become the intellectual foundation for one of the Trump administration's signature initiatives. As chair of the DOGE Caucus, DOGE is the Department of Government Efficiency, Ernst finds herself in the position of watching her longstanding concerns become White House priorities, from fraudulent payments to foreign exploitation of small business research programs. Senator Ernst recently announced that she won't seek reelection next year, creating a unique 15-month window where her expertise matters most and her political constraints matter least. She's no longer building a case for future action. She's working to implement solutions that she spent years developing, including a blueprint for $2 trillion in potential taxpayer savings. The convergence of Senator Ernst's institutional knowledge with Trump's reform mandate, combining that with her lame duck freedom to take risks, positions her as a unique figure in determining whether and how DOGE leaves a lasting impact on the federal government. The question isn't just what she hopes to accomplish in her remaining tenure, but what the government efficiency movement may look like without its most dedicated practitioner. Senator Ernst, thank you so much for joining the show. It's an honor to have you on.
Oh, it's great to be with you, Evan. Thank you so much.
You've dedicated so much of your career to fighting government waste, and I think it's fair to say that it didn't get the attention it necessarily deserves. 10 years ago when you started really hammering on this, what was it like to see the issue of government efficiency elevated so highly with the onset of the second Trump administration? And how do you feel about the efforts of DOGE so far in Trump's second term?
Oh, I tell you, it was so exciting because I have worked on this. The first ad that I ever ran when I ran for United States Senate in 2014 was "Make 'em squeal." So what I wanted to do was come to Washington, D.C. and make the federal government squeal, because I knew there was so much fraud, waste, and abuse within the system. And Iowans can't stand for that. So I immediately started with a team here in Washington, D.C. And what we have done is really dig into the weeds and find where there is excessive waste. So through the years, I have given out many, many squeal awards. And what we were able to do then is roll them up and present them then to the second Trump administration, when we had Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk working on the DOGE initiative. We gave them all of our findings through the past decade, and they were thrilled to be able to take that and use that as some of their initial work. So I am excited to have such large figures that are really pushing for reforms in the federal government. It really gave my work the legs it needed to actually get done. So with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, not only have we been able to go into the agencies and tackle some of that waste, but also focus on the E of DOGE, which is efficiency. How do we do our work better to save taxpayer dollars? So I've been thrilled with it. I'm so glad we finally are seeing the results that the American taxpayers have been demanding.
You have legislation that would address one of the issues we focused a lot on at the Foundation for American Innovation, which is the improper payments that go out from the U.S. government. Yes. The Government Accountability Office has found that there are hundreds of billions of dollars in improper payments annually, which just is a staggering statistic. And you have a bill, the DOGE and Spending Act, which would help address this problem by giving the Treasury Department new authority. Can you explain how that bill would help enhance or really double down on the efforts that you were just describing?
Absolutely. So I started my political career as a county auditor. And as a county auditor, when I was doing the county's books and their accounting, anytime a payment went out from one of our departments, I would have to have a very specific accounting number with the account where the payment was coming from and exactly what that was for, with an attached invoice. Well, what we would require through this DOGE and Spending Act would be that the Treasury Department has that same level of accounting that's required of local and state governments. The United States federal government would have to have an accounting number pointing specifically back to the fund that that dollar figure was coming out of and specific reasons why that payment was being made. What we have found through various audits at the Treasury Department is that they're not doing that. There were payments that were going out with no specific accounting numbers and absolutely no reason why the payment was being made, which makes it difficult then to audit and find out why those payments were made.
You've also been focused a lot on improper payments that are potentially linked to foreign adversaries. The U.S. Small Business Administration has programs, the Small Business Innovation Research Program and the Small Business Technology Transfer Program. And these programs are really designed to help businesses that otherwise might not have the capital to bring their idea to market to really thrive. And ideally, this program is supporting U.S. national goals. But you've identified through investigations that some of these payments and these programs are going to entities with potential links to the Chinese Communist Party and other adversaries. How is this such a problem? And what would your legislation, the Innovate Act, do to clamp down on it?
Absolutely. So many of our federal departments, think about the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy, they participate in the Small Business Innovation Research Program, the Technology Transfer Program. And what it is small businesses that are given seed money from these departments to develop new emerging technologies. Think about the DOD and supporting our warfighter. Well, those are federal taxpayer dollars. But what we have found is some of those small businesses will have then spin-off companies that will have Chinese ownership or will transfer their technology to China or another foreign adversary. These are taxpayer dollars. These are initiatives that are supposed to help prevent adversaries from attacking the United States. And instead, they're benefiting from that research that our citizens have paid for. So what I am enacting through the Innovate Act, if it should pass, would be an additional definition for foreign risk as it exists within these small businesses, and an additional level of then due diligence when it comes to foreign risk. So making sure we understand various ties that small businesses might have. So we would research their filings, see if they are associated with our adversaries, and then make a determination on whether they can receive those dollars and participate in these programs for research and development at our federal agencies. So again, it's something that we need to take care of. This is an immediate threat. And most certainly our taxpayers don't want to know that their dollars are actually stealing from our Department of Defense or Department of Energy and transferring it to an adversary that could use that technology against us.
Well, the effort around DOGE has unfortunately been politicized, as so many issues in Washington have been. There has been so much bipartisan concern around issues involving China. Given that bipartisan concern, do you think that gives the Innovate Act a better chance of passing? Do you think that's something that could be signed into law, while you're still in the Senate over the next 15 months?
I certainly hope so. We know that the SBIR, STTR program is coming up on the end of their limit that's authorized by Congress. So we need to go through what's called a reauthorization. So we need to do that, but include those extra due diligence provisions within that bill. I do think it is something that we can get done and do it on a bipartisan basis. So I've been working, obviously, with my colleagues here in the Senate. There's an effort as well in the House. So we will continue collaborating and hopefully see resolution so that we are safeguarding these technologies that are developed by our taxpayers.
So as I mentioned in the intro, you announced that you will not be seeking reelection, which kind of creates this timeline of potential action over the next 15 months, and really to cement your stamp on the Senate and the issue of government efficiency and waste. We've talked about two major pieces of legislation already that you've been shepherding. What else would you like to see Congress and the executive branch do on these issues over the next 15 months? And really, what do you want to leave the Senate knowing, in terms of your legacy and
Well,
people remember you for?
Oh, absolutely. And thank you. And it has been such a privilege to serve the people of Iowa in the United States Senate. And you're right, 15 months. What would I love to see done? Obviously, I'd love to see us get to a balanced budget amendment. That likely will not happen in the next 15 months. So what can we do? There are a number of things that I will continue to champion, all within that DOGE space. I also have my For Sale Act, which would allow the federal government to start eliminating different real estate or properties that the federal government no longer uses or is well underutilized. That would generate revenue, but then also save us billions of dollars in deferred maintenance. So there's a number of provisions like that. My Decline Act is one that we cancel government credit cards. When people leave government service, they shouldn't still have access to the government credit card. We've seen a lot of fraud in that area. I could go on and on and on, but there are a number of initiatives that I already have been working on. I want to push and see those through completion within the next year. And of course, then be able to pass this work that we have done on to the next person that will be willing to spearhead the DOGE and continue on with this legacy of work that we have here in the United States Congress. So I look forward to it. I'm just thankful that we had leaders like President Donald Trump and those that worked on DOGE like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. They really gave us the push to really get some things done that were absolutely necessary in our federal government.
Well, my colleagues at FAI, Dan Lips and Lars Schonander, have been huge supporters of those legislative efforts that you mentioned, and it's been a privilege and an honor for them to collaborate with you. I really appreciate you coming on this show to share your thoughts. And I know you're busy, and I won't take up more time because you've got a limited runway to get all those bills passed and signed into law. So that starts right after this show. So thank you so much, Senator, for joining. It was a real privilege to have you on.
Thank you, Evan.